Podcast.
I'm your host, Sovereign,
And I'm Shiny.
and a bit of a lighter day today.
Yeah, not really much to talk about. Both in terms of media and in terms of politics, this is a bit of a slow week.
Well, I wouldn't say that for media, but I will say it's mostly because we have a lot on the back end that we got to discuss.
Yeah, well, in terms of media, it's really only two shows, and that's it.
I mean, that's what our limit usually is anyway.
Yeah, but no, extended media. Like, no video game discussion, no, only, brief talks about a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get into our first thing, which I want to talk about is She-Hulk, because that has the least...
Yeah, so the ending came out. We finally got episode 9, and,
They didn't stick the landing, but it's not like they wiped out.
It was an ending.
Yeah, they didn't nail the landing or anything. But it's not like they wiped out. It's more like they landed... You know how when you watch the Olympics and you see the gymnasts and they do the whole flippy, twirly, all that shit, but then when they land, they, slightly, jump forward a bit as they land? That's this ending.
Yeah. So really, the biggest problem comes with the setup for the big twist, which is not like a plot twist. It's more like a subversion of what we were expecting.
Yeah, everyone was kind of expecting that Todd would steal She-Hulk's blood and he would turn himself into another type of Hulk. Everyone predicted it because, well, it was purposefully predictable.
I mean, he popped up how many times in this show?
I'm pretty sure he showed up once every other episode.
I think so, yeah.
He was pretty much guaranteed to be the main villain. Which is kind of weird initially just because of the weird guy she went on a date in the montage. He seemed the most normal until he just said specimen. If he hadn't had said specimen, he would have been normal, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, oh god, we're dropping frames already? What is wrong with the internet lately? God, this is going to affect our audio.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope it doesn't continue.
Thankfully, it doesn't look like stream dropped, so we're good there.
Yeah, but anyways, it's just kind of obvious he was going to be the villain, which was on purpose, but...
But let's get to why this ending failed. So...
Oh, I don't want to say failed, but I want to say missed the mark.
Yeah, it didn't stick the landing.
Because I think failure is too strong of a word.
Because...
It accomplished what it set out to do.
Because, let's be fair here, this isn't the worst Disney Plus show to come out.
Yeah, and also this is not the worst Disney Plus ending to happen. Looking at you, WandaVision. Looking at you, the ending speech of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I wouldn't go that far, because, WandaVision was just bland CGI DBZ battle. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier... Actually, no, I take that back. Looking past the neoliberalism in that ending, let's be fair here. What conclusion can we come to with that?
Yeah, I mean,
I take that.
Not just the speech, but also the whole Sharon Carter twist.
I will defend WandaVision a bit because it wasn't bad. It was just bland. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, on the other hand...
You're telling me that you were fine with Hayward, who up until this point was a reasonable person, just unloading a pistol at two 10-year-olds, unprompted, with no explanation possible, and then getting arrested for violating the Sokovia Accords? Trying to stop a witch that literally enslaved a town? You tell me that ending was good?
I didn't say good. I said bland. Don't mince my words. Don't mix my words.
Anyways, this is by far not a bad ending. We've had worse.
Yeah.
This is just one that missed the mark.
So really, what it comes down to is that I wouldn't even say twist. The deviation for the ending would be, She-Hulk actually goes to Marvel Studios and rewrites the ending. Yeah. But the problem is, for me, the big problem is that, before that all happens, they make the ending super messy, intentionally so, to give, audiences a headache, and then she's gonna go, this is bad, I'm gonna go fix it.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, is a creative concept. But the issue is that I have to recover from the headache that the show just gave me.
For me, the issue wasn't the headache because, I expected it to be a mess. My problem is that so the ending obviously is supposed to be the big confrontation between Intelligentsia and Jen. And we're getting to that. And I would have been very disappointed if it was a fight. Because I felt this is not a battle that could have been won by a fist fight. So I was really hoping that when she was redoing the ending, we would get a scene of her and Todd confronting each other verbally. And Todd's incel sexist ideology would get taken down in the free marketplace of ideas.
And that's the thing. Because with the rectification that comes with She-Hulk confronting Kevin, the supposed brain of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I expected, she's going to redo the whole scene because, we're just wiping the slate clean of the ending that we got. But instead, it skips the scene entirely and just expects the audience to understand what happened in that tiny gap.
Yeah, my biggest issue also is that Josh was confirmed to be a hired goon, which I don't like. Because the big thing about Intelligentsia is that they're considered incel man babies and misogynists, which has been a running theme. But I feel one of the problems with it is they strayed too hard into this liberalized version of feminism where all misogynistic men are just pigs that women are automatically repulsed by, when that's far from the case. Many misogynistic men that treat women horribly have a lot of success with women. They are attractive, they're funny, they're charming, and that's all really a disguise that belies the true hatred behind them. And someone like Josh, who portrayed all those positive traits, being a member of Intelligentsia, as a card-carrying member, not just a hired goon, would have worked, because it would have shown that not all sexist men are ones that you could just spot a mile away by the trail of women running in the opposite direction.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree.
Because if you think about it, what was it? Not Dennis. Was his name Dennis? The guy that she worked with previously? The one that got tricked by the light elf that became Megan Thee Stallion?
David, Dennis, something
whatever.
Like that.
That guy, and then obviously Todd, as well as basically all the losers that you saw in on the Twitter posts, and then all the losers in the Intelligentsia forums, and then the ones actually there. You just know they're all repulsed. They all are so repulsive to everyone around them, which is good. But I feel that if you wanted to really take down the ideology, you should have had her confront Josh.
Yeah, I will say at the very least, my favorite part of the episode was Pug pretending to be misogynist.
Oh god, Pug cannot be misogynist if his life depended on it.
Oh my god. That's the one thing. I will say the one thing that counters the critique of all men are portrayed bad in this show, when Pug exists,
and also her dad
and Hulk.
Yeah, her dad. Also, even Emil and Wong. Emil, he's not a part of Intelligentsia. He's just a speaker.
Because he
doesn't know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah, because when what's his name? When Todd gets the powers, he's quick to defend.
Yeah, he's like, Jen, look out!
Yeah.
But I would say Emil isn't a bad guy anymore. Wong cannot be bad, ever. Pug, obviously, I love her dad. I think her dad is the second best MCU dad we've gotten in these shows. Obviously, no one will top Yusuf Khan. But
I was about to say, you better include him above that.
No. Yusuf Khan is number one, but this guy is number two. Because all he cares about is protecting his daughter above all else. And he doesn't do it in the stereotypically overly sexist infantilization of their daughter type protection. It's hey, my daughter's a person, and I don't appreciate you guys treating her the way that she's being treated. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Which I think is a healthy way of showing how a father should be able to defend their daughter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he basically always appeals to her humanity whenever talking to her or about her. He's
Yeah.
always talking about, like, her as a person and never as,
Yeah.
just a woman.
Yeah. I will say, as far as all the substance of this episode is concerned, cool concept needs to be put uh, back in the writing room again because it was just handled very clumsily.
Yeah.
I feel this finale would have benefited from a 2-part finale.
Yeah, I think a two-parter.
Because let's face it, like the we have one episode left, and what do we have to tie up? We have to tie up the
Intelligentsia.
we gotta tie up not only like we didn't really get like a whole like not arc, but a whole like segment of them finding out what intelligentsia is, who it is, and that's all we get as far as their investigations into intelligentsia. And then all of a sudden we have an infiltration plan going, which I mean, sure, it was easy for them, sure, but like
Yeah.
it could have been elaborated on a little bit better.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of just wish, like, they just kind of stuck with the idea of just having Pug get in there, like that being their plan A from the beginning.
A little bit, but that's kind of, again, that's the weakness of this ending. We don't get a full explanation as to where she is after the result of this arc.
Yeah, which I feel like that's really the hardest part about
Yeah.
this was just I really wanted her to confront Josh and Todd.
Especially because despite this show being a legal comedy, it also has to carry the weight of, oh, there's a plot going on in the background and it's the season finale. So like I don't know. I think that the show just
Yeah.
it I think it did a decent job with the legal drama, sure, but as far as like adding the weight of carrying a substantive plot that like goes through the entire season, I think it dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I think part of it is unironically something they lampshaded the entire time throughout the episode. It almost felt like it was mandated to have it. It almost feels like the studio mandated that they have a plot resolution in its typical Marvel fashion. They were just able to subvert it with their break out of the confines of the fact that they still had to abide by the whole structure that She-Hulk, that all Marvel shows have to do.
I will say, I do want to make one last comment. The visual effects gag. Oh god, that left such a horrible taste in my mouth.
That gag was definitely written before the controversy and meant entirely as, oh shit, Black Panther's next, get hype, kids! But unfortunately for Marvel, most people, whenever they think of VFX artists, just think of, people being literally, like, spending, like, 26 hours just working on the fucking, like, whatever, the fucking background of
Because
Glup Shido or something.
Because what they do is that they say, oh, you're too expensive to animate right now. Can you please transform to regular gen, please? You're too expensive. And I'm like, ugh.
And they were like, the finale, and Jen's like, save it for the movie!
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of funny because...
I actually have no problem with them introducing it now. Like,
yeah, obviously. I mean, we know the Young Avengers are a thing. We know it's going to happen. But my only problem with the introduction of Scar is that it's completely erasing his brother, Hiro Kala. I am tired of the Hiro Kala erasure. He is just as strong as his brother, he's just as important, and he has cooler powers. Why not introduce both? Fuck Billy and Tommy. I want the Hulk twins.
is this erasure something that exists outside of the MCU?
Yeah, no one really talks about Hiro Kala. Everyone talks about Scar. Scar gets all the focus as the son of the Hulk. But Hiro Kala is also Hulk's son and also really powerful, and he only really got like one story arc and then died. Which, comic books characters don't stay dead, so I'm like, you could very easily bring back this character and reuse him.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, for Christ's sake, Rhodey died back during Civil War II, and he's still walking around nowadays. And the Hulk died!
Did you really have to bring up Civil War 2?
It's very recent, and that's just to exemplify the point that, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're fucking dead, they can still come back, meaning you shouldn't erase Hirokala.
Yeah. So, judging this show as a season overall, I will say this show had a lot of missteps. It definitely took its time to get good because, let's face it, the first few episodes weren't great.
But they got better.
They got progressively better.
Every episode was an improvement.
So I'm willing to say that.
I can't say in good faith that Loki is better than all three combined. And then because here's the problem. When I'm talking about it, I mean, you have to take Loki as well as the 4 other shows that came out this year.
Oh no,
those collectively.
No, when I say that, I don't consider the other shows.
Well, no, I mean it.
Like when you say it as like comparing year to year, yes, you're correct.
Yeah, no, I think this year was better, which means that Marvel's moving in the right direction. They're moving away from the cookie cutter formula that kind of defined the first year of Disney Plus, and it's now moving into better territory. And now that they've expanded to using special presentations, I feel like this will allow the shows more breathing room.
Yeah, especially considering, like, actually, if we bring Werewolf by Night into the mix, this year's average score goes up. Because, let's face it, Werewolf by Night is, like, 15 to 20% better than any of these shows that have come out this year.
Exactly. Like, if you put Werewolf by Night in it, then it's a done deal. This year was better.
Yeah.
And then if you combine all movies that came out, then you get a bit more even because Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange, and Morbius all collectively bring it down.
Oh, why do we have to even consider Morbius in this?
Because Michael Keaton showed up.
Because it's still canon to the MCU.
Yup. Thus, it needs to be considered when you talk about MCU quality. But anyways, overall, I think I would give the show as a whole a 6.5. No, it improved.
It improved for sure, but I'm going to stick with a 5.5.
It improved, and I think it's a step in the right direction. I feel that the next time we see She-Hulk, it's probably going to be Daredevil Born Again, and I look forward to see how she's going to be doing.
Yeah. I will say that the effects actually did get better in this last
episode. The effects also did get better too. Like, looking at Jen in episode 9 or 7 or 9.
It's 9.
Yeah, looking at Jen in episode 9 versus looking at Jen in episode 1 is almost like 2 different departments worked on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it improved as time went on, and honestly, that's all I can really ask for. If the show is starting out bad but improves, that's I would say that's good. I would say that's better than being consistently mediocre.
Yeah.
So step in the right direction. Marvel, if you can just, smooth out the edges, you can make the good shows. You can make the shows that are good.
All right. Well, let's get into a little bit more Marvel news here right before we move topics here.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah. He's getting cast as Thunderbolt Ross, which actually works really well.
Yeah, it works really well. Ross needed to be recasted because William Hurt, the actor, he passed away. Which, I mean, I'm not too sad about because he was a piece of shit that sexually assaulted women, so...
Yeah.
Can't be too sad about that. But, recastings have to happen, and I think Harrison Ford's pretty good. I mean, he's 80.
Yeah, and he's still supposed to carry another Indiana Jones film.
Yeah. And I actually wonder how he's gonna do in this role. Because, he's not a big franchise guy. He is notorious for saying he hated playing as Han Solo.
Yeah.
Because he didn't think Han Solo was a good person. He likes playing as Indiana Jones because he thought Indiana Jones was more of a good person. And I imagine he liked playing as Deckard as well. But Thunderbolt Ross is interesting because not only will he have form, but presumably he's also going to do the mocap for the Red Hulk form.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Is he keeping the mustache? Because would that look good on him?
Oh, with the, in Red Hulk?
Oh, no. Switching actors, because the previous actor had the mustache.
It could work. It could work, depending on how bushy they try to make it.
Because let's face it, that's a bushy mustache.
Yeah. If they just kind of, trim it, like just kind of
because
if they give his beard and his mustache a kind of cut that is emblematic of William Hurt's, but still works with the type of hair that Harrison Ford has, I think it could work.
Because really, we don't see in any role more than just a little bit of stubble on any of his characters.
Thunderbolt Ross in the comics, he actually did have as well, but I'm more interested in just seeing how he's going to play the character, because he's supposed to be playing opposite of Anthony Mackie's Falcon or Captain America, not the antagonist, because that's obviously going to be the leader, played by Robert Blake Nelson.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just the first thing that comes to mind for me, because I don't know. I'm just very excited to see him in the role.
Yeah, I'm very interested in what this will mean for New World Order as a whole, because we got the leader, we have Captain America, we have the Mossad agent superhero, we have now Red Hulk. It's considered a political thriller, and it has the New World Order tagline, which that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. I was talking about this with Sovereign off stream, but I think it's probably going to go into a gamma world situation where more gamma irradiated people will appear, probably people like Doc Samson, but I don't know how that's necessarily going to work.
Yeah.
Obviously, Harrison Ford will also be appearing as Thunderbolt Ross in the movie The Thunderbolts because, well, it's a movie named after him, so.
Yeah. Yep. Either way, pretty excited. Just didn't think I'd ever see Harrison Ford in the MCU, especially with how old he's getting.
Yeah, he's 80. But, I mean, if he's going to do Indiana Jones, he might as well get another Disney bag.
Yeah.
Also, one thing we didn't bring up in the She-Hulk was that Blonsky is now in Kamar-Taj.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
And Wong was like, we truly live in an era of peak TV. Which, I love that. I love Wong. So, yeah, Blonsky's now free, which is actually going to be pretty interesting, because that makes me wonder, do you think he might appear in Thunderbolts or New World Order? Because both are now viable, because New World Order seems to be going with the Gamma, which obviously you would use Abomination, because he's a Gamma Hulk, or Thunderbolts, because, well, he could be the Hulk of the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, because they could... Let's look at it like this, because they couldn't reveal that a month ago.
Oh, they could not have revealed it a month ago. It would have totally...
But if a trailer drops and they add him in, I don't know.
Knows he's at... Well, presumably they could figure out that he's at Kamar-Taj, because if a security camera saw a portal, they would easily notice that's the sling ring of the Masters of the Mystic Arts. My issue is Kamar-Taj publicly known to the government? I presume yes, because Doctor Strange, as a regular civilian, found it.
Well, one, not only that, but it's viewable from, like, it would probably be viewable from, like, any, like, surveillance satellite. Because, I mean,
assuming that there isn't magic being used to hide its presence from technology.
That is true, because I was going to bring up Wanda found it fairly easily by just flying there.
Yeah, but Wanda is a magically attuned being herself, meaning it could be possible she found it just... So,
yeah, I would buy that they could find it.
I buy that they would find it, but I would also buy that they can't find it.
Yeah.
Because, Wakanda was able to hide themselves.
I would also buy that they can't... Because where is Kamar-Taj located?
Nepal.
Would they be able to extradite a civilian from Nepal?
No! No, they can't!
So there's also that to consider.
Yeah, no, China would never let that fucking happen in the real world, much less someone like Abomination. Why the fuck would they ever let him out of their borders? Not that they could if they tried, but legally they would never let them leave. Not unless they got, like, fucking 5 nukes and, I don't know, Captain America for it. I don't know, he's black, they're racist, never mind. And Shang-Chi... No, he's Asian American. They don't like that. Something!
Alright, well, let's stay on the topic of superhero movies, because we got Black Adam coming out, and the reviews are coming in, and... they aren't looking great.
Yep, this is basically the first big project under David Zaslav's new regime under Warner Brothers Discovery. And, well, considering everything else he's been doing with the company, this is boding about as well as I expected it to be.
Yeah, because
Not good.
we had moderate excitement for this film, and well, we'll see next week when we review it.
I don't know. Every time, after seeing all the Marvel stuff, I look at the DCEU and it feels so soulless.
Like let's
It
look
feel-
at let's look at movies that actually had soul that are in the DCEU. We have
The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad. We have Shazam. Do we have more besides that? We really don't.
Yeah. Even like Dr. Fate and Hawkman. Some people don't know.
Yeah, I would say of all of them, like Doctor Fate is probably the most recognizable, but like,
Yeah. Even the Atom as well.
yeah,
I don't know. I've heard that, what is it? That Henry Cavill got convinced to return for another Superman solo movie by The Rock.
yeah, which God knows how that happened.
Money. Money. That's what happened. But overall, my excitement has kind of died down. After all the other things David Zaslav has been doing, I've kind of just been soured as a whole to anything related to Warner Brothers Discovery. Kind of just like, oh, this is happening. Unironically, I'm like, wow, maybe it would have been better if Disney bought DC. Like, I'm like, fuck, this is just
I am just waiting.
bad.
I'm just waiting for the Flash to reset the whole universe at this point.
Speaking of the Flash, Ezra Miller pleaded not guilty somewhere, which means he was apprehended, but
I'm surprised this news got past me.
yeah, it was like he pled not guilty, but that means he was apprehended, but I haven't seen anything that says he was apprehended.
Huh. Actually, when's that movie supposed to come out?
Next month.
No way.
It's supposed to come out in November.
Was it November or December?
It's supposed to come out around the same time as Black Panther.
A month after Black Adam?
Let me check.
I actually don't believe that. You gotta check. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe they delayed it.
I feel like they would have, yeah. Definitely check on that because, like, a month after? I don't think that's even happened in Marvel outside of, like, close releases to Infinity War and Endgame.
Let me see. Let's see. Black Adam. They moved it to June 23rd.
Oh, odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fact that we didn't even notice that. Yikes.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're trying to hide it.
I mean, can you blame them?
I can't. I really can't because, let's face it, after everything that's come out.
Oh, wow. This just came out. DC Films boss Walter Hamada has departed. Fuck!
Why would someone ever do that? I mean, it's not like the train is, like, burning as it runs along the rails or something.
Yeah. Everyone's saying there's going to be new news about the Henry Cavill Superman movie.
Oh, God.
But, fuck! J.J. Abrams' Superman project still in the works. Fuck! God damn it!
Why? I thought we all acknowledged he can't write movies.
Why? The fucking... God damn it! This is why we can't have nice things. I'm moving on from this shit. I'm fucking upset. Fuck!
Okay,
God damn it.
All right, let's move on. Let's definitely move on. Let's go to Star Wars because a lot of episodes have been coming out from Andor recently, and We got a lot to review.
Finally, some good fucking food. So
we'll be covering episodes 5 through 7, and
oh god, this shit is amazing. Like, goddamn, like, this is peak Star Wars. Unironically, like, this is peak Star Wars. From the set design, to the music, to the camera work, to the dialogue, to the acting, to the story. It's all good.
Yeah,
it's not lacking, and it's only got better.
Yeah.
I think episode 6 is my favorite. Which is a brutal scene to be described, but also completely realistic and something completely believable when living under fascism.
Yeah. And then we get
Karl Marx, aka Nemec.
Yeah. He is my favorite.
I fucking love Nemec. Nemec he's basically the Karl Marx of the group. Basically, he is the theory guy. He writes the Star Wars leftist theory.
Yeah, I mean, they literally call it a manifesto.
It's quite literally, it's quite literally the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, because he in episode 5. In episode 5, he actively engages with conversation about the use of mercenaries as a tool for anti-fascist action, and he does bring up some good points, but Andor is quick to retort that what was his point again?
Basically, so fucking what? The Empire will never play by your rules. They don't care about you. They don't care what you do.
Exactly.
So, use mercenaries.
Yeah.
The moral was that using mercenaries is a good idea.
Yeah.
Because while you may not have people that are ideologically driven to the cause, you still will have people helping further your aims for the revolution anyways, which is completely emblematic of Cassian's role in this.
Yeah.
The plan doesn't work without Cassian, even though he's not 100% with the cause. But the cause succeeds because they use him.
Because he's actually, when they're formulated the escape route, he's quick to point out that they actually have no clue how to maneuver the vehicles that they have. When he's like, this is standard procedure, how do you guys not know this?
Yeah.
Because, they ask, okay, how would you be able to tell how much weight's on the vehicle? And he's like, bro, the vehicle tells you.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, fuck. Which, to be fair, is entirely accurate to how a lot of eco-trolling cells begin. Because the reason why is because basically throughout these episodes you're basically seeing a terrorist act being plotted the entire time. And once we get into episode 6, it's just straight up terrorism.
I mean, yeah, that was...
It's actually just terrorism.
Yeah. So, episode 6, pretty much...
I don't want to get to episode 6 yet. Because, first of all, I want to talk about Gorn. Because he's introduced in episode 5. And he's a very interesting character.
Is he introduced in episode 5? I feel like we saw him in episode 4.
No, because we only got introduced to him in this episode. Because Cassian didn't know him yet. Because episode 4 was when he first arrived on Aldhani. And they don't meet him until this episode.
I could have sworn he made a brief appearance in 4, but whatever. I'm not gonna hang up on that.
But anyway, so he's a lieutenant at the garrison, and his story is basically that he had a wife with someone from Aldhani, and she was killed. And not only was she killed, but he would have been promoted had it not been for the fact that he was in love with her and married her. And so he was passed over. She never stuck under... I know his name is Jay. His name was fucking Jackoff. He's such a fucking twat. I hate him. In a good way, though.
Despising?
Yes.
Yeah. Because,
yes.
I mean, they do a decent job at making him,
also humanizing him. Especially with his weight and the heart problems. But not enough for you to sympathize. Just enough for you to be like, this is a very well-written character to hate.
Yeah, yeah.
But Lieutenant Gorm, I actually really liked. I really liked his reasoning, because, it would make sense that things that could radicalize people to fight against the Empire would be the personal slights that would come off of your devotion being just not rewarded. Like, he was devoted to the Empire, but all he did was just fall in love, and that is enough for the Empire to just treat you like nothing.
Yeah.
And that's how he ends up being under J-Hold for the rest of his term on Donnie. Aldani. Fuck. The people are called Donnie. Aldani is the planet.
Yeah. So, now are we safe to dive into episode 6?
I want to say that was it, because we get the other black guy's backstory in episode 6.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's jump into episode 6.
So, pretty much, this is the big action sequence. I know we talked previously about how this show has been divided into, like, 3 episode sagas, or arcs, I should say.
Yeah.
And, this is the culmination of the past 2 episodes, and, everything that has been described goes off without a hitch. I mean, I will say the biggest thing that has that can be said about this episode is the visuals.
Yeah, visually, it's striking, it's stunning. When the eye happens, it is beautiful, undeniably beautiful. Its beauty is all around. Like, I'm here because I'm going to destroy this land for, I don't know, the fucking Imperial strip mall, whatever the fuck he was making.
I think they were making... No, not a military base.
No, because there's already a military base, and there was the air base.
Exactly, yeah, so... I forget what they mentioned.
The Imperial strip mall.
Sure.
So he's coming there to build the Imperial strip mall, and he's just not for J-Hold shit. And it was actually really interesting because, one, it shows how ass-kissing is just so common within the Empire.
I mean, you gotta get promoted somehow.
I know, but still. But it allowed us to see, well, hates him in the rebellious teen kind of way, hates him. He is implied to be abusive. His wife seems to, you know, obviously she loves him, but obviously you could tell there's the signs of the battered wife syndrome. Overall, J-Hold's a fucking dick, and you could tell Gorn just despises being around him at every second. But another thing that happened that I found really interesting was the erosion of Donnie culture. So they talked about how there's a pilgrimage that always happens whenever the eye comes out, and how the pilgrimage starts with tens of thousands of people. But by the time they actually reach the sacred area to watch the eye, it's only like 60 people.
Yeah.
Which is actually, and the reason why that happens is because there's a lot of checkpoints set up, but also a lot of checkpoints that have booze and women and like cultural distractions from like the Empire. And I found that really interesting because that is what the British did in India when they colonized India. A lot of what they did was erode away traditional Indian customs with British culture. And slowly but surely, remnants of their culture was all they had left because everyone else was more assimilated towards the British.
Yeah, because they were the Imperial soldiers were pretty confident in saying that this would be their last one.
Yeah, because they fully intended to just destroy the sacred area, and since so many people would prefer to be at the Imperial, you know, I don't know, WWE match, whatever the fuck they're watching, that's not the eye, it's very clear that the majority of people would be fine with this imperialization, which shows a slightly more subtle but equally as evil version of imperialism, which is the destruction of culture by supplanting it with your own.
Yeah.
It's a cultural genocide, but done with basically no bloodshed, or little bloodshed. It's destroying an entire culture by just completely supplanting it.
Yeah.
And I found that, but that also shows that the diehards are die hard for the eye.
Yeah.
There was obviously J-Hold met with the elder tribesman, and he's just like, I hate you. And Gorn, who can translate, because once again, like we talked about in episode 5, his wife was Donnie. He understands the language. He's just like, he says, I hope you had a good day, or some shit like that. Clearly, like, lying. But then we get to see the other black guy, whose name I can't remember. He's like the strict one. But
Yeah.
it turns out he used to be a...
You know, makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Excuse me, 1 second. I just have to bless my nose. Summer.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because he was the most, commanding of the group, which, I mean, yeah, he would have a strict military background because, I mean, let's face it, we all know that stormtroopers are like the goofy butt monkeys that always are the faceless enemies that always get shot, but don't override the fact that they are still a part of the militaristic part of the Empire.
Yeah. Also, he's elite. He was a
Yeah.
stormtrooper. Stormtroopers are considered elites.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like because in this episode, we did not see a single stormtrooper. We saw Imperial Army members.
Yeah.
That's actually who they dressed up as. And my favorite part was when they showed up in the garrison and they take Jay Holden as hostage. Because this was really interesting. The good guys are holding a child hostage, unambiguously. The child is being held hostage and is in distress. The Imperial engineer tries to save the child and is killed for it. And that right there, I think, was a stroke of genius. Revolutions, insurgencies, anti-fascist fighting is not clean. It is dirty. And a lot of more happen. Do I believe they were going to kill J-Hold's son? No. But does that matter? His son is forever traumatized. He was held at gunpoint by rebels for reasons he doesn't know. Reasons that he, as a child, is not party to or responsible for.
Yeah.
Yet all the same, he is held hostage by terrorists because if he isn't, people die. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It really is interesting, especially because they went a step further and killed the engineer who's trying to save him. Effectively, excuse me. Excuse me. I have allergies. Excuse me. Thank you. But I was saying, effectively, in the eyes of the child, rebels are evil. They killed a man who was just trying to protect a child. But we know that that man is obviously a fascist and part of a wider machine of fascism that would... For that child, he's just a bored kid doing shit for his dad, and now there's guns pointed at his face, his mom's face, and then the guy that tries to save him is dead, and his dad is kidnapped. And he's never sees his dad again because these guys are unequivocally monsters. Evil. How could they do such an evil, vile thing? But we know differently.
Yeah.
And I think that was really good. I think it was amazing that they showed that. Because a lesser show would have completely subverted the idea of having this moral qualm, or they would linger on it so much that it becomes the division between the team. And I like that it didn't. They knew what their shot. Skeen doesn't save him. Because, as you come to find out, if he lived, Skeen has a harder time trying to get money.
Yeah.
I also like that Lieutenant Gorm just kind of is like, fuck you, and then dies. Because, I mean, he didn't walk in there with a gun, which, come on, bro. I know you're not expecting to fight, but still. And then there's Nemec's death, which I found to be very interesting. He doesn't die from being shot. He dies under the weight of Imperial money.
Wait,
Literally.
Does he not get completely fixed? Because
he's dead. He died on the operating table.
Oh, okay.
That's why she gave him the manifesto.
Okay.
He's dead. He got his ribcage crushed by money. Pretty fitting for our Star Wars Karl Marx character. Literally being killed by capital.
Yeah, yeah, that is really fitting.
And I like how basically his last words that we see on screen is interesting parallel because K2 in Rogue One, his last words to Cassian are climb. So I thought that was really interesting. But basically, Nemec dies. The black guy dies. Gorn dies. Cinta is able to escape. So then it's just Vel, Skeen, and Cassian. Skeen wants to go to a doctor to save Nemec, but in reality, it's to give him an opportunity to steal all the money for himself.
Yeah.
And then he tries to split it with Cassian because, the two of them have a shared history in the sense that both of them were juvies. Both of them went to juvie. Both of them... Skeen thinks he hates them and hates the Empire the same way that he hates the Empire. The Empire's just an authority figure in the way. Is how he interpreted Cassian's feelings, because that's his own feelings. But then Cassian shoots him dead. Because the idea of betraying the cause, even though Cassian isn't fully on it, but knowing how many lives this will affect, he's so disgusted he kills Skeen instantly.
Yeah.
Which I found to be very interesting. But I also like that the catalyst was the fact that the brother never existed. He says he never had a brother. And that's when... Not only is it that he's stealing, he lied and everything, but he lied about losing a brother. Which, to Cassian, is bad and horrible because Cassian is still looking for his sister. So the idea of someone using that sibling relationship as a con, he kills him for it. And I really like that.
Now let's move on, because so far episode 7 has been my favorite episode.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to dive in. We see the consequences come in full force. Literally every aspect of civilian life, of Empire organization, literally all of it, the status quo is completely changed.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go to the easiest, which is how life is on Ferrix now that it's completely under Imperial rule. And nobody feels safe, and everyone blames Cassian for it.
Yes, which is really interesting because, well, one, as Cassian smartly points out, it's Tim's fault. If Tim wasn't a fucking... basically,
but
they'd be fine.
But here's the thing.
But Tim's dead.
But he's dead, and also, everyone sees that the corporate officers were after Cassian. That's what everyone sees, and I think that was handled really well.
I think it was handled extremely well.
Let's face it, at night the streets are empty, which is like for like a place like Ferrix, it's actually maybe I wouldn't go that far because in the first episode we do get scenes of it being normal that the town's empty at night.
Yeah, but this time it's empty for a different reason. The only people you see are stormtroopers.
Exactly.
And for once, stormtroopers are shown to be the menacing presence that they actually are. Even though they don't do a single thing but walk in this episode, their presence is felt. You know that when you see the stormtroopers, you know the Empire's in control.
Yeah. Which, honestly, this episode gives me like a different perspective on stormtroopers, especially considering the fact that we've got like Imperial officers that are just draped in the Imperial garb. Meanwhile, we've got stormtroopers who are armored up and are completely suited up.
Yeah.
These past few shows have really just changed my perspective on them. Like the movies, like from the early like even before the early 2000s in Hell, all the way through the 80s. Like, they've been treated like the butt monkeys. You can gun them down, shoot them. It's like you don't settle on it too much because, like, oh, they're just faceless enemies. You can gun them down, no problem.
The Disney Plus shows have really rehabilitated their image.
It has.
Mandalorian has.
I will say Mandalorian does kind of dive into the funny parts of Stormtroopers a bit too, but I would say outside of the Mandalorian, I would say outside of that show specifically, they have been rehabilitated.
Yeah,
in
because
the
I
current
mean,
media.
in Kenobi, they were pretty fucking intimidating, to be honest. In Kenobi,
Yeah, I
like
would
you
agree.
knew, like even though Obi-Wan like killed them pretty easily, you knew that he couldn't do it instantly. He needed
Yeah.
a perfect opportunity.
And I would say it's probably since we're going from the perspective of, instead of following Jedi and leaders of the rebellion or the resistance, we are following civilians.
Yeah,
Which,
who stand no chance.
exactly.
And I thought it was really good. But I also like Marva, because Marva has finally had enough. This episode, we got to see that Cassian's father figure, Clem, which was also the name he chose for his alias, was murdered by clone troopers during the beginning of the New Order at the end of the Clone Wars. For people throwing rocks, he didn't throw. He was trying to stop them from throwing rocks, but he was murdered anyway, which I think is important for two things. One, Cassian's ever-present survivor's guilt that is very apparent about his people. You can tell he has survivor's guilt about Clem, and you know he will have survivor's guilt about this mission.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's important, I think, was why Clem died. Clem was made an example of those who oppose the Empire, because his body hung there for so long. But I find it so interesting that he wasn't opposing the Empire. If anything, he was defending it. But it really goes to show that under fascism, it doesn't really matter if you are defending them or are against them. If they perceive that you've slighted them, you're good as dead.
Because, let's face it, it's all optics to them. If they want to make someone hang just to get a point across, they'll do it.
Exactly. And Clem just unfortunately was a victim of that. But I really liked how Marva talked about the fact that she would never go through the town square. An area of the town that we have seen from multiple times, and every time it's stopped because Cassian obviously knows that's where his father figure hung. But the way that she talked about how she never walked through there because she always was reminded of his body. But on the day of the Donnie raid, when she heard about it through that city center, no one the wiser as to why the Empire lost something. And now they feel just a fraction of what she felt on the day she lost Clem.
Which, it looks like she's going to be like this, like she probably symbolizes broader thought among civilians of the Empire.
Yeah.
Which, without a doubt, because...
A silent majority, if you will.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because pretty much what happens is that she wants to be there because now the Empire looks a lot weaker, and oh god, I just got a notification and that completely made me lose my train of thought, but I continue my thought.
It's a complete, like, civilians are getting the best way to surmise this is a quote that Leia said back in A New Hope. The more you tighten your fists, the more stars. That's basically it. The Empire lost, so they tightened their fist. But now, because they're tightening, they see that they can slip through the fingers and fight back against them. And Marva has now been inspired that with what little life she has left, she will spend it fighting to destroy the Empire.
Yeah. And then I also want to talk on other elements of this episode, too, because, again, my favorite part of this episode is showing the consequences of the attack in...
Oh, yeah.
So, I want to talk about Mon Mothma and what happens with her.
You mean Mommy Mothma? Because her outfits in this show have been amazing. Like, some of the best Star Wars fashion I've seen. Like, I don't know who the fuck Padme's tailor was, but they need tips from Mon Mothma because she actually has drip. She actually dresses really well.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you see the complete necessity of escalation. Like, she has been super secretive about her actions, but now she's like, okay, I need to actually start blackmailing other political
that wasn't blackmail.
Or not blackmail, but
recruiting.
Aggressively recruit other political leaders in order to go for her cause. And she's super discreet about it. Like, she doesn't say what she wants, but like you can tell whoever she's talking to knows what she's talking about, despite the fact she doesn't explicitly say it.
She's
Like,
doing doublespeak.
because ultimately she's like, "Oh, I want to create a charitable fund," and he's like, "For what? Outreach." We know as audiences, we know what she's talking about, but like, you can tell who, like, the conversation they have, both parties understand what's going on.
The thing that I want to say that accentuates that more was her conversation she earlier had with Luthen. Because not only was it exactly what you described, but it served a purpose as well. She faces away from the door because her driver is an ISB plant. He could read her lips, so she faces away, meaning he also can't read the emotions on her face. But she also speaks quietly. Meanwhile, Luthen, he speaks directly. He has a smile on his face, but he knows for a fact that the words he says have double meaning. He's like, "What's the point of a weapon that you can't use?" While holding a weapon to show Mon Mothma in an artistic sense, while telling her right there, what was the point in me gathering all these people against the Empire if we're not going to use them?
There is a ton of doublespeak here. That's why I really like this episode.
It's so good.
This episode forces me to use my brain. I mean, I said that again about, was it episode 3 or 4 that I really liked? I think it was it 3?
Yeah, that he